Number 1. The Death Note series was written by Sugumi Oba and illustrated by Takeshi Obata, the combo who also created the more recent manga Bakuman. When Oba was asked where did the inspiration for Death Note come from, his response was, "There was nothing in particular. I started thinking of some ideas, and while these ideas were still floating in the back of my mind, I got more ideas to fill up detailed plots like the rules and the god of death and so on. Eventually, I thought there was enough material for a good story to tell," making it one of the more original horror mystery manga, as the concept was not influenced by anything in particular, although it did end up inspiring real life murder cases, as there have been various copycat crimes around the world which were based on Death Note. On September 28, 2007, two notes written with Latin characters stating "Watashi wa Kira desu," a mistranslation of "I am Kira," "Watashi wa Kira desu," were found near the partial remains of a Caucasian male in Belgium. The case has been called the Manga Moord, which is Dutch for manga murder in Belgian media. It was not until 2010 that 4 people were arrested in connection to the murder. There are more cases. For example, in 2005, Death Note was banned from 3 provinces in China, including the city of Beijing. The reason was that students were altering their notebooks to resemble Death Notes, and then writing the names of acquaintances, enemies and teachers in their books so they would die. There's more related stories, and the link will be in the description of every real life association with Death Note. Number 2. The original concept took deep consideration before it was finally implemented. The core plot device of the story is the Death Note itself, which is a black notebook with instructions written on the inside. Correctly used, it allows anyone to commit a murder knowing only the victim's name and face. Artist Takeshi Obata originally thought of the book as Bible-like, something you would automatically think was a Death Note. Deciding that this design would be cumbersome, he instead opted for a more accessible college notebook. Death Notes were originally conceived as changing based on time and location, resembling scrolls in ancient Japan or the Old Testament in medieval Europe, and a more modern thing in the modern age. However, this idea was never used. Number 3. The story of Death Note was initially introduced in a different manner. In the Death Note pilot, the story revolved around Taro Kagami, a 13-year-old student at middle school. Taro finds a Death Note which, like the mainstream story, was dropped by Ryuk. Not knowing the English word for death, however, but knowing the English word for note, he assumed the book is a blank diary and takes it to replace the diary he previously lost, and the story goes on from there. In the pilot, the rules for the Death Note are differed from the manga series, with the existence of the Death Eraser, a special artifact that can erase the names in the Death Note and revive the people that have been killed with the note, as long as they have not been cremated. Number 4. The Death Note concept was not the only thing that took careful consideration. The design of the characters took great attention. Takeshi Obata, the artist of Death Note, had made many suggestions to Oba's designs which led to the final concepts. Yagami Light was one of the easier characters to design, and Obata stated that he had no trouble designing Light, as the character description presented to him by Oba was a brilliant honest student who's a little out there. Obata said he mainly used a lot of effort to design Light's wardrobe. According to Obata, he encountered difficulty imagining the clothing of a brilliant person, so he looked through fashion magazines. Obata envisioned Light as a smart and formal guy who wears formal shirts. Most of Light's clothing in Death Note is fitted, and Obata avoided jeans. L. Oba created L as the young adult since he believed the story would not hold much interest if L was significantly older than his opponent. For L's name, he wanted to use a single letter with a lot of significance. He considered I and J, but eventually chose L after careful consideration. Oba said that he left everything about L's character design to Takeshi Obata. Obata asked Oba if L could be unattractive. Oba included ideas in his thumbnail, including L's manner of sitting, his English, his inactiveness. He added details regarding L's mannerisms and his interest in sweets. Obata commented that L's thumbnails by Oba had bags under his eyes and that he had a plain face with no expression, which was very useful. Obata initially drew L as an attractive young man until chapter 11, when the character appeared in person. After chapter 11, Obata and Oba agreed to contrast his appearance with Light's. Ryuk. Obata said that he encountered difficulty in creating Ryuk. He said that his original idea of Ryuk consisted of him looking like a young man similar to Light, with black hair and wings. In his words, he had the idea of Shinigami looking like attractive rock stars. However, he felt that if Ryuk appeared more attractive than Light, he would appear to be the main character, and things wouldn't work as well. Obata then decided to erase the previous design and use the final designs when his editor told that Ryuk did not have the appearance of a human. Obata said that he liked the monster-like appearance and added that with his face, you can never really tell what he is thinking. Obata describes Ryuk's face as appearing different between the pilot chapter and the actual Death Note series. In the encyclopedia-style guidebook Death Note, How to Read 13, Obata mentioned that he thought of an idea involving Ryuk's face being a mask, and under the mask would be an attractive face. Misa. Obata wanted to use the Gothic Lolita design to convey Gothic imagery of the Shinigami and their world. Oba said that they're into that fashion and that having Misa first appear in unusual clothing would be more interesting. Obata, imagining a mix of an energetic Japanese artist and a foreign rock and roll singer, felt set when he drew Misa for the first time. Obata said that he felt apprehension regarding the length of Misa's hair. Personally, he wanted her fringe to be straight across, but believed that creating Misa completely within the bounds of Gothic Lolita style would be too much. Therefore, Obata designed her so she looked a little more natural and to appear cute to people who weren't into the Gothic style. Obata revealed that his editor warned him that the scene with Misa in restraints in chapter 33 was on morally thin ground for a children's magazine, so they placed the title logo over the middle of it. This was a surprise to the artist, as he said he held back when drawing it. After L's death in the second story arc, Misa became a top idol. Obata decided to drop the Gothic Lolita style and make her look like a popular actress. Obata said that he remembered having a lot of fun while looking through Gothic Lolita magazines and drawing Misa. In response to a question inquiring about which characters the creators faced the most difficulty creating, Obata selected Misa. Mello and Nair. In the case of Mello and Nair, Obata added that the design for the characters became switched at the design phase. The final Mello had Nair's design and vice versa. Obata said that when he created a depiction of the designs, his editor wrote the wrong names accompanying the designs. 5. Taking into account remaining lifespan Rem had, the long lifespan Misa inherited from Rem when she sacrificed herself means Misa should have lived a very long life. Yet Misa still died only 7 years after Rem's death, suggesting it is likely that Misa was killed by a Death Note somehow. As it is confirmed in Death Note that when a Shinigami gives his or her life to save a human, the human will inherit the Shinigami's unused lifespan, so it is indeed likely that Misa should have lived a longer life. However, it has never been officially stated that Misa was killed by a Death Note. Sugami Oba only ever suggested that Misa likely fell into depression and committed suicide after learning of Light's death. During the credit scene, Misa Amane is shown standing on the rooftop, behind the safety rail. According to Death Note Animation Official Analysis Guide, her fate is left to the viewer's interpretation. Number 6. Oba said that he always mentioned apples in the thumbnails because he always wished to use the dying message that Shinigami only eat apples, and therefore he needed Ryuk to hold apples and that there is no other reason for it. Oba also said that he specifically chose apples as their red goes well with Ryuk's black body and that the apples fit well with Ryuk's big mouth. When Obata informed Oba that apples had religious and psychological significance, such as the biblical references to Adam and Eve, and that a person could read a lot into the inclusion of apples, Oba added that he felt including aspects that could become later plot points was beneficial, and that apples were used as the point when Light asked Ryuk to search for cameras in exchange for apples. Number 7. Why was it that L died so abruptly? L's death was initially just an option. It was after the story had reached the point in which Misa was captured that everyone in the editorial team felt that L's death was the way to go. Oba mentions that's one of the reasons he let the character die. Furthermore, they decided to introduce 2 more investigators to replace L, as if only one investigator was introduced as the replacement, the battle would have been too similar to L and Light's. In an interview, Oba responded with, "I decided on a 3-man fight. I left all the character designing to Obata sensei and my only request was Nair and Mello should embody the essence of what L was like. As for Nair and Mello's ages, we could not decide on that. Initially, I thought of introducing them as L's sons, which was why their personalities were not as obvious until very much later. It was only after we confirmed the background facts about Nia and Mello that their personalities were portrayed. Number 8. The ending of Death Note is slightly different between the manga, anime and movie. As Ryuk explains, when he first meets Light, he is bound to take Light's life when the time comes. In the manga, Ryuk does this after Light is shot several times by Matsuda. He desperately begs Ryuk to write the names of the investigation team and the SPK members in the Death Note, which he first implies he will do, but Ryuk, reminding Light that he is not on anyone's side, just writes Light's name instead. He was expecting Light might have thought of some way out of the situation, but seeing as though he was desperate enough to go to Ryuk for help, he decided it was all over for him. Ryuk returns to the Shinigami realm. In the anime, Light does not ask for Ryuk's help and manages to escape the warehouse thanks to Mikami's suicide, distracting everyone else. However, his wounds are too severe for him to escape very far, and Ryuk, who is watching him from atop a pole, decides that following Light around during a prison sentence is not worth his time and thus writes Light's name in his Death Note, remarking that he had a lot of fun with him regardless. Light dies peacefully with an apparition of L standing over him, mirroring Light standing over L on his death. The second film ends in much the same manner as the manga, except Ryuk's silence leads Light to believe that he is willing to help. When Light learns differently, Light yells at Ryuk and jumps through him, trying in vain to stop his death before dying in his father's arms. Before this, Ryuk takes this opportunity to reveal to Light that humans who have used the Death Note are unable to enter either heaven or hell regardless of their actions in life. In the spin-off L Changed the World, Ryuk offers L the Death Note. When L refuses and proceeds to burn it, Ryuk complains that L is boring and disappears, returning to the Shinigami world. Number 9. When the police from around the world meet together at the Interpol meeting, most of the members have a name tag and a flag to represent their country. It turns out that some of those name tags represent famous soccer players in real life from different countries, the name of the soccer player being matched with a flag of the country which he is from. Number 10. L shares common points with the original manga author Sugami Oba. Both of them uses pseudonyms, and similar to L at the beginning of the series, Sugami Oba's real name, appearance and gender remains unknown. On the topic of names, Sugami Oba said that the editor suggested the family name Yagami for Light. Oba said that he did not feel too concerned about the meaning of the name. The kanji are night and god. He said that after he created the final scene in the manga, he liked that the final scene created deeper significance in the name, relaying back to Kira worshippers worshipping him at the night under the light of the moon. A simple idea developed at Sunrise Studio by Ichiro Aokuichi and Goro Taniguchi. The initial concept of the plot consisted of a secret organization led by a hero, which was later developed into conflict between two people with differing values of morality belonging to the same military unit.